Kickstarter, you don't get the money when you fail. So I didn't get those $5,000.
See, I grew up in a small business family, so I know what it's like to have 1,000 questions. Hey y'all, welcome back to Building Momentum, an interview series by EntreKey. In this series, I interview trailblazers, dreamers, and risk takers who are working on super fascinating projects and businesses. The goal is to get raw insights and actionable pieces of advice that you could all use in your businesses right away. Make sure to subscribe and hit that little bell thingy if you want to stay up to date with all the interviews that are coming out. In this episode, I interviewed Irving Barcenas, who is the creator of the 2020 board game. Awesome board game that you could enjoy with all of your friends, and the funny thing is, it actually started off with him just trying to create a fun activity for his family to do during Christmas.
This year, I couldn't afford buying all of my cousins each a Christmas gift, so I decided to make one through boardgamesmaker.com, and it finally came. I recreated the year 2020 in a board game. I took the best elements from my favorite board games growing up to make the game more interesting. I was on a time crunch, so I made the game rules online. The point of the game is to survive this year as unproblematic as possible. Instead of buying properties, you obtain friends, and I made it as inclusive as possible. The best part of creating this game was creating the 104 social media cards that reveal key moments of 2020. Some examples are the stimulus check card that gives the player that drew it 1,200 added to their score. I even made a monolith card, an anti-masker card, a Karen card that gets you canceled in the game, a feel the burn card, a white privilege card, and the infamous toilet paper. Tell me in the comments, would you buy this?
In the interview, Irving talks about the process of developing the idea, how he navigated the manufacturing process, a mistake on Kickstarter that almost cost him $5,000, how he's using TikTok to drive all of his marketing growth. Oh, and he also talked about how he and his friends at one point used to own a pizzeria in Long Beach, California. I know, this guy's done a lot. One quick thing before we jump into the interview, Irving was supposed to record his side of the interview in a 4K camera through no one's fault, because technical difficulties are a normal part of the content creation world. This could have happened to anybody. Come on, Irving. But instead, he ended up filming his part in 720p. Due to that, it's kind of a little weird setup the way we've set this interview up, but I think this might actually be an interesting way for us to start doing it in the future. So let me know in the comments how you guys feel about the sort of structure with the cameras that you're gonna see in about a minute. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started.
Hi, I'm Irving, and I'm the creator of the 2020 board game.
Excited to have you, Irving. How you feeling today?
Pretty great. Okay, so...
Yeah. I had Irving get up. Irving's on the West Coast right now. I'm on the East Coast. So I'm like nice into my day, relaxed, right? Had some yoga this morning. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys, there was no yoga. I woke up like 15 minutes before the interview. I'm not proud of this moment. I don't know why I said it in the moment, but I had to tell you guys the truth now. I feel good. Irving's like waking up right now like, damn this guy for making me wake up. Those people that don't know, what is 2020 board game? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so the 2020 board game was created in TikTok. It came out of nowhere. So I basically made it for my family. We basically tried to go all the way on Christmas and on New Year's, all the way to midnight just to open presents or celebrate. And that waiting period is always the part that's just like dreadful, you know? So I really wanted to play like something really cool, really funny. So I made this just for that reason. And then once it finally came, the prototype and everything like that, I was like, all right, cool. Let me post it on TikTok so that I can make this my first TikTok and tell the story and everything like that, just as a way of like, oh, look what I made. But little did I know that this would blow up and people actually wanted to buy it.
Whoa, okay. So you didn't create this with the sense of going, hey, I'm going to create a business. You were just like, hey, I want to create something that's going to be fun for me and my cousins to play. And then you just so happen to be like, oh, let's see if people like this idea. And it happened to grow from there.
Exactly.
I love that. So why don't we backtrack a little bit, right? Why don't we talk a little bit about what is the game? What is the 2020 board game? What's the premise? How do people win? General sort of gameplay idea.
Yeah. So what I really wanted to do with the game was really try to mimic the exact feelings and the exact mechanics of like what happened last year. So what I did was that all the cards are literally events from 2020. So from like our ex-president, from our the anti-maskers, you know, like the Karens, like everything that you could have seen on social media. I actually put the game in 104 different cards. I didn't want any card to feel like it's the same as this one. You know what I mean? Like, no, each one is literally a different thing that happens in the game. So, so there's the card aspect of it, but then you have friend tokens, which is like as diverse as I could possibly make it. It even has like pronouns, different ethnicities, backgrounds, diversity. You know what I mean? Like religious. You know what I mean? Like that's what I try to do. And then the way it looks, like I really wanted it to feel like a calendar. That's why it starts at first of the month. So that's why you go around in circles, because it's supposed to look like a clock too. Like just
got you.
Yeah. And then, there's time jumps. You know how like you feel like time always goes like it went fast today, or it's
yeah.
That's why there's ways of going like back in time and then forward in time. So
Love
you never know where you are.
And so how do you win? What's the end goal?
So the biggest thing that I hated about games like Monopoly or Cards Against Humanity, there's not really anything.
I've never finished a game of Monopoly in my life. It's always ended with me and my sister, one of us throwing the board like across the table and not talking to each other for like days.
Yeah, so I wanted I wanted the players to feel like they have control of the game. So anyone who reaches 10 survivor points actually ends the game. That's it. Like you end it. But the person with the highest score actually wins. So if you're the person with the least amount of score, it's like you can end the game. You don't have to end the game. You can actually control it. It's like I can catch up. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's what I love about it. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Like you could tell at one point, I just literally have no idea what to say just because of how thought out this is. Oh man, this is exciting, man. This is super exciting. You create this board game sort of just out of boredom. You're like, hey, I want to do something with my cousins. You mentioned at one point, I think when we were talking, that your cousins are actually some of them are actually conservative, right? So how did that play into this idea? Is the game liberal? Is the game conservative? Where does it lean? How did you design it?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing was basing it off of like people's perceptions in social media. Like, you know what I mean? Just trying to make it as funny as possible. It's like I have a trump card, which literally trumps cards in the game. So got you. So it's like it's basing it off of actual events, but like loosely, so that it doesn't feel like it's like so deliberate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that was the big sort of highlight of 2020, right? It seems like for the first time, even people who've never interacted with politics were now suddenly getting like, you know, just enthralled in everything that's going on. So it kind of sounds like, and I remember you saying that it was like creating this game that anyone can enjoy, regardless of your political beliefs. It's just more of like, hey, let's just as a collective enjoy this horrible year that we all endured, right? I love that. Okay, so let's talk about this. You play this game with your cousins. You end up going, hey, I'm going to post this on TikTok, right? Walk us through that journey. What happened? How did that what happened from there? You decide, hey, I'm just going to post a video on TikTok. Let's talk a little bit about the success.
Yeah, so once I posted it on TikTok, it was like, I'll never forget. It was January 7th. And it was like, you know, you just share it with everyone. It's like, hey, guys, I just made this TikTok. I sent it to like all my friends. I was like, oh, like, check it out. Because no one knew about it. Like, I kept it secret. Like, I didn't tell anybody about this. And people were just blown away. They shared it with their friends and everything like that. And the biggest support that I got was my friends. I was just like, oh, wow. Like, people that I haven't heard from in a while started reaching out to me. I was like, Irving, I want to support you. Let me know how I can get this game.
So your initial post, it immediately blew up, right? I remember when I saw the first video, and I have to admit, I was a bit jealous. I was like, are you kidding me? I'm making videos every day, and this guy's just one video, and he's like growing way bigger than I. But quite frankly, what do you think led to the success of that first video?
Honestly, I feel like it was telling the story and having I always thought that having a product was so easy to like tell a story about, because then you can like give it that flash, like say it was like a soda, like you see all those people, photographer TikTok and all the creatives always doing this amazing effects because they have one product, you know. But when it's a service or like a consultation agency or anything like that, it's like you have to do more.
Storytell, you've got to evoke emotions that you wouldn't do with the product as much. Yeah,
exactly. And people are very product heavy on TikTok.
Got you. And I think also, I remember at the end, you were just sort of like, you weren't selling anything in that video, right? You just went with, hey, would you buy this game, or would you want a copy or something like that? And just that call to action.
Exactly. The only reason I had that call of action was because I wanted more engagement in the comments, because that's what you do on Instagram.
Smart.
And literally people were like saying like yes, no.
Yeah.
Even the no's were like giving me engagement. So I was like, okay.
That's ridiculous. My comments are me and like 3 people just continuously talking to one another. And one of them is just me and my little sister. And I'm just like, at most I post to TikTok, I'm like, listen, get on my TikTok, go comment something. Speaking of comments, let's try to bring a little positivity into the world. In the comments, let me know what was one thing that happened during 2020 that brought a smile to your face or just helped you get through the year. I can't wait to see all these amazing stories. You end up posting this video, you see that a lot of people are, liking this, and you're gaining some traction. What's the first next step? Was that like the point where you're like, okay, I'm going to turn this into a business product, or was it a gradual increase from there? What was the first next step?
The biggest thing about getting the product out there was just the fact that like I wanted people to know that this isn't a scam. I wasn't going to try to get anyone's money or anything like that. So I really wanted to keep people's money safe. So I put it on Kickstarter. But look, I know that Kickstarter is its own problem, you know? Like it's its own community too. And it's just like, all right, I didn't know there was so many rules that the community has. And I'm just like, you like pre-launch your Kickstarter before you launch. It's a whole process.
You had an issue, right, that popped up for your Kickstarter? Do you mind talking a little bit about that and the lesson you learned?
So the biggest thing that I needed to do was the fact that like this was a $200 game because everything was custom. Like I literally made 104 cards. There's 36 tokens with each one with a different illustration. Like literally this is a custom game, so that's why it was a $200 game. And I was able to like gift that as for everyone, which is like 12 people, you know what I mean? Like 12 people need to enjoy this one game. But I set the goal for 27,500 because I wanted to bring the price down from $200 to $55.
Got you. So if you have a big bulk order, you'll be able to do that.
Exactly.
Whew. Not to brag, but quick maths, Got you. And so what ended up happening? Did you reach that goal, or how did it go?
So I didn't reach the goal because I made the goal for a month because my biggest pet peeve was not getting the product within that. I ordered it today. I don't want to wait till July or September to get the game, So I made it for 1 month, and in that month, I didn't reach 27,500. I reached 5,000. Yeah, but with Kickstarter, you don't get the money when you fail. So I didn't get those $5,000. But with when I failed, I reached out to all my backers, let them know like, I think I'm going to put this on a web shop. Would you be interested? And a lot of people did. So I was able to, get those backers. But on top of that, once I launched that web shop, I was able to then gain another 5,000. So I was able to make this large order for the first round of like shipping to all the backers.
Not bad at all. Okay, so how far are you in that process now as far as the first batch going out? Has the first batch already gone out? What's that like?
So it's all went out. Everyone got it in the first week of April. So now I'm getting the second order for all of April. Like anyone that's gonna get it in April, you're gonna get it at the end of the month.
Gotcha.
So I'm just waiting for that, and then the extension pack was launched and everything like that.
So when you're creating this game, right, now that you're manufacturing, how did you go about creating a game? Like, to me, that's such a foreign concept. Like, I'm imagining big factories pumping out tons of Monopoly, boards. Like, how do you create a game?
So I've been playing games all my life. Like, I played Pokemon, I played Yu-Gi-Oh, I played Monopoly, Catan, like you name it. I feel like I played it. All the the mainstream ones.
Yeah. What about Pokemon?
Pokemon was more of a collectible, which is why the cards are all different. I wanted them to be able to become collectible.
Yeah.
So that's why. Okay, cool.
Wow. Yeah, I mentioned Pokemon because my mom threw away my Pokemon cards when I was little, and I just found out that apparently a bunch of them are selling for a ridiculously good amount of price. Mom, if you're watching this, let's be honest, you're probably one of the 2 people that is going to watch this. Why did I say that? No, I hope there are more people than just my mom watching this. Please. Oh, God. Let's just get back to the interview. God. I was so mad. The pain. Anyways, go.
So I wanted to put all the components that I love on each one of those games and put it into this game. The biggest thing that I wanted was to bring in that shadiness level where it's like, you have to betray someone, you have to block somebody.
So you like it when families fight. You love it. Did you see how happy he was when I said that? Like, this man is a menace to families all around the world.
It's like that's what I wanted. And it forces people to play the game. You know what I mean? It's like, you
can't be passive. You've got to be active.
Exactly. Because there are passive players, and it's like, not today. Like,
yeah. I'm sorry. Give me a second. I told my mom to come quietly and drop off this thing. She moves everything on the desk to make them.
Sorry.
So I'm like, just quietly put it in. So she goes, just moves like everything on the desk. Between you and me, I think she heard the Pokemon thing. So this way you have to be an active player. You can't be a passive player.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even when I was, so I had to blind test it. I had to test it multiple times. And I have this one friend that's very passive, but she was literally winning the game because she kept getting the shadiest of the cards. Like,
yeah.
Who are you? This is not you.
Stop. Got you. And so, but what about the physical board game? Like, what did you do? How'd you get that developed? So you have a bunch of graphic design experience, right? So in a moment, I actually want to talk a little bit more about you and just your past, but also the physical board game. How do you go about creating a board?
When I was trying to look for ideas on making something that like everyone can enjoy, I was just looking throughout Pinterest. Like, it was just
love Pinterest.
Yeah, right. It's just full of ideas.
In one of the next couple of interviews, I'm going to be interviewing Jomelli Breton. She's a really close friend of mine who's also a verified creator on Pinterest. She gets close to like 2 million monthly views. And she also has like her own social media marketing agency. She's helped tons of brands sort of use Pinterest and a bunch of other social media platforms to just grow their businesses. In that interview, she'll be covering a bunch of cool tips that you could use for your business on how to just use Pinterest or Instagram to grow your businesses. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button to stay in tune with that. Oh, by the way, if you have questions about how to use platforms like Pinterest to grow your business, drop them in the comments as well. If I have a bunch of questions, I'll actually just toss them towards Jomelli and see what she says during the interview.
So I was like, okay. And then I run into an ad that said, make your own board game. And I was like, oh.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah. And then I started doing Google search. I was like, okay, well, where? Like, how much? I think the biggest thing was how much and how can I like just plug it in instead of like, oh, okay, give me a quote. Because getting a quote is like, it's just so much back and forth that I don't know. So I really wanted a price now. And I definitely did it with this company called boardgamesmaker.com.
Got you.
And that's how I did it.
Wow, not bad. Okay, so they create this game. You upload all your designs. Anything you've learned in the whole design process? So actually, let's backtrack. Let's talk about you, right? So who is Irving, right? Tell us about yourself.
Yeah. So I'm a 31-year-old freelance graphic designer.
Drop your skincare routine, man. Drop your skincare. Screw this video. The video we should be making is Irving's freaking skincare routine. Are you kidding me, man?
Wow. They're literally like, oh, you're young. You did it. I was like, I'm in my 30s. Like, what are you talking about? And then I have nieces in quarantine. So we went to get school lunches and they were actually like offering it only to students. No. They're like, do you want some? I was like, well, no, I'm not a student. It's like, are you shy? I was like, no, I'm literally not a student. It's like, are you in 12th grade? I was like, what are you talking about?
No, ma'am, I'm a 31-year-old man.
Yeah, it's like,
yeah. Okay, so next video, guys, stay tuned if you want Irving's skincare routine dropping next, right?
Yeah, so I actually graduated from college in 2014.
Gotcha.
I was able to go to New York right when I graduated through this friend, and I was rent-free for a couple of years. So I actually got into the entrepreneur scene in New York through Beelan and Kennedy that does the ads for all of Nike. Oh. So yeah, so I did their hackathon. Do you know what a hackathon is?
Yeah. So you spend a bunch of time solving some sort of coding, or I guess in your case, was it coding or was it design? Or
yeah, so it was a mixture. So they needed designers for UI UX, and then there was coders for any sort of language. Yeah. And then I was able to gain the cash prize and best in design. Yeah, like I was like, oh my god, like I could do these all day. Like
yeah, not bad. And to have a company like that validate your work, I mean, I'm sure must have been absolutely phenomenal.
Exactly. Yeah. So I reached out to my friends in California, and then I was able to then let them know, like, hey, would you guys be interested in picking up on the idea that we did in college, which was what we called Culinarian, which was a social cooking app that allows users to teach and learn from each other how to cook via real-time live feed. So I came back to California from New York after living in New York. I was like, oh, this is so different.
New York's better, obviously. We all know.
Honestly. So then once we started doing the actual project and everything like that, we saw that capital was a big component in launching this business, especially an app of this caliber, because it was all live feed. Yeah. And they don't tell you that live feed, it requires a large team, and we only were able to get developers that knew some code, and then we wanted to be able to have interns be able to reach their dreams and their job goals and everything like that. So we helped them out, and a lot of them went to get their masters.
Wow.
And we helped them do it. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm glad we are able to help people, but damn, no one's like staying.
Yeah.
So we never launched. So then after that, I actually got the opportunity to actually own a restaurant.
What?
Which is here in Long Beach. Now we sold it that same year, just because like it was literally kitchen nightmares. Like that show with Gordon Ramsay, it was literally that. Like it hasn't been inspected in 3 years because Long Beach was going through a shift in from old baby boomers to new blood, basically, and it was just like it was a weird time in 2016.
Yeah. What? Okay, so what? So wait, you go from being this graphic designer in New York, you go back, you try to start an app, and then eventually you're just like, screw that, we're just gonna own a restaurant. What was it? What kind of restaurant?
It was a pizzeria.
Oh man, now I want some pizza. But what?
So cheap too.
What?
It was the cheapest pizza in all of Long Beach. It was literally a large one-topping pizza for $6.50. That was including tax.
Not bad. Have you ever had the dollar pizza in New York?
Oh, I did. Oh.
That's toxic. It's so good, but it's toxic. I'm convinced they don't put any real ingredients in that at all. You know it's a good dollar pizza in New York when like the tomato sauce is in some old concrete bucket where they just put a bunch of tomatoes and a bunch of water and they're just like, oh my god. Damn, now I really want a $1.50 slice from New York. Anyways, moving on from there. Okay, so after the pizzeria, what you sell that, and then what's Irving up to?
So I sold that, went full throttle on freelancing. I got a couple of contracts and everything like that. But then I came up with this idea called Pin Pal. So I got into the enamel pin community, and it was this whole thing of like, I wanted to really implement fashion with design, and I found enamel pins can do that. So then I noticed that there was this thing where it's like, okay, I photographed this pin. Now what? Like, I don't need it anymore. I want to trade it, but there was no way of trading pins. Like, it was like, where do you go? And so I wanted to create that for them. And that's currently what I'm currently working on, apart from this board game.
Wow, not bad. Now, okay, so you got a couple like, pun intended. You got a couple like, damn it, that was really gonna do that one. You got a couple breads in the oven. What's the saying? You got a couple fires in the oven, couple buns in the oven.
Or is it
buns?
Eggs in the basket?
No, it's not eggs in the basket. It's like something to do with oven. Okay, I still can't figure out what the saying is. Like, if you know it, drop it in the comments because this is bothering me so much. Anyways, you're gonna notice there's a bit of a disconnect because continuing with technical difficulties that are no one's fault and could not have been predicted by anyone. Irving's side camera at one point went out and he kind of just let me keep going until like 10 minutes later where he goes, hey, by the way, I mean, you guys will see what's gonna happen.
Talking about fulfilling orders.
Fulfillment. Yeah. So I was like, for those of you that don't know, fulfillment is handling all these things. And so
literally all of that was not captured.
What? Why did you cut me off earlier? What the
See that? Yeah.
Okay, so people are starting to get the product now, right? You've created the physical product. You've created the first batch, sent them out. Talk a little bit through that process. Anything you've learned? Any cool stories?
Yeah, so I actually wasn't able to fulfill the orders through the manufacturer because of an error. So I actually got 165 games sent to my address. And so I had to literally become a fulfillment center and figure out how much shipping is and how much boxes are and how am I going to make this look like a package deal for people to be like, oh, this is really cool. Like I appreciate the extra detail. For
those of you that don't know, part of the e-commerce model, right, is not just having a website where you could sell things, but also having to then figure out the fulfillment side, which is essentially like, hey, now that I have the physical product, like where are those physical board games going to be? Where are they going to be stored? How am I going to get people's addresses? How am I going to package them? How am I going to box them up, tape? Where am I sending these things? Am I working with UPS, FedEx, UPS? How am I making sure I can handle returns, right? And so one of the ways to make it simpler for e-commerce is manufacturers will just say, the people actually physically creating the game, will just say, hey, instead of sending the game to you and you send it to the customer, give us the addresses and give us the names, we'll send them directly to the customer saying that it's you on your behalf. This way, then you would never have to actually touch the inventory, and it's actually faster and safer for them to send it because the manufacturer packages everything just the way that like it's supposed to be, sends that off, and then this way it gets to you quicker instead of having to go to Irving, who could, on the way to Irving, water damage, or Irving's packing something, drops a box, and suddenly now it's, not as perfect, right? So you're marketing by creating videos on TikTok and stuff. You're designing the website. You're continuing to design the game, because I see you released expansion packs and everything. You're running this business, right? You're fulfilling orders. You're also taking back feedback, right? Do you have a team, or are you just like superhuman at this point? Like, how is this stuff getting done, man?
You know what? I think that's the biggest thing that like a lot of my friends and my colleagues always tell me. It's like, Irving, you know a lot of a little bit of everything. And it's like, yeah, and now like I am able to implement that. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I am really proud of, is the fact that like I feel accomplished of the fact that like, I can actually implement the things that I've learned throughout my life. It's like, oh wow, like I can do this, and it's just me. So it's just like, oh wow. But eventually I am going to have to expand, because like I still have to make an income apart from this game. I'm just making it work.
Not bad. Any time management tips? What are you using to sort of keep track of everything?
Honestly, I compartmentalize everything. So I take things one step at a time. So if I have to like deal with the game just today, it's like, okay, let me just deal with this today, and then tomorrow this client, and then the next day and everything like that. I just take it one step at a time, because you don't want to stress about like, I have a million things. It's like, yeah, I understand, but bring it up.
Yeah. Let's focus on the next immediate step. So real quick, I kind of want to give you guys a productivity hack that I've been using over the past couple months. It's been helping me manage my 9-to-5 job at a big tech company, family stuff that I'm doing, all the while also filming, editing, and doing all this stuff for EntreKey. And I think you guys can use it in your businesses. It's called time blocking. It's not revolutionary or brand new, but I feel like I found a nice little hack that I think can help a bunch of you as well. So what I usually do is every morning I'll sit down and I'll make out my schedule for the day, and I'll block out a certain amount of time, like say an hour or 2 hours, for specific projects I'm going to work on. But I don't decide what it is that I'm actually going to work on in those 2 hours. I just say, hey, 2 hours blocked away from 6 to 8 p.m. to work on EntreKey. Then when 6 o'clock rolls around, I go into my running to-do list that I have for each of my projects, and I go to the EntreKey one and I go, okay, well, what's the task that's most interesting to how I feel at the moment? What this allows me to do is to have the structure of like actually blocking my day and making sure that I'm actually getting my work done. But I also have that flexibility so that when in the moment 6 o'clock rolls around and I'm tired or exhausted, I don't want to do something very task heavy or very thought heavy, I can pick a task that's easy to quickly get done that I can, rattle off within the 2 hours I have blocked away. The structure of the blocks, but the freedom of being able to choose what it is exactly that I'm going to do. Let me know what your thoughts are on time blocking or if you have any other productivity hacks in the comments. I feel like I've asked you y'all to like comment 6 different things already. Comment something. Let's just do it. Speaking of next steps, what's next? What's next for the game? How are you're creating expansion packs and stuff. Talk us through everything.
Yeah. So I had a lot of ideas. So I did 104 cards in the original game, and I wanted to continue that because I had more ideas. I didn't even get to put in like the Murder Hornets from 2020. I didn't get to put like all of that stuff. And so I created the expansion pack to make the game a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to do with the expansion packs is that every year I make a new expansion pack that relates to that year. So 2021, I want to release a 2021 expansion pack this January because there's so much going on this year. And it's like, and it continues from the actual decade. So it's like, so I want to do that all the way up to like 2019, right? 2029.
2020. Oh man, that was bad. Even I was stumped. Okay, yeah. Okay, so completing off the entire decade. So it's like, here are the 2020s, not just the 2020 board game. You also talked a little bit about going virtual.
Yeah. So currently I am trying to work out an app to help us utilize the score sheets online. But eventually, like, I am looking into actually putting the board game in a virtual setting.
Wow.
So, yeah. So currently, like, I want to start off with just an app for scoring, like, for the game, so that you don't have to utilize pencils or anything like that.
Yeah.
You actually a calculator. And then I want to expand into a virtual setting for the game.
Wow, not bad. And so how's that part of it going? Are you just managing that yourself or outsourcing
I'm
that?
Literally teaching myself Swift for iOS through YouTube. So yeah, it's just
Do you sleep at all? Is sleep, is rest? There's this thing called eating, right? Do you do that at all? Like,
yeah, I just love learning, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing that people lack. It's like the power of learning.
So going on from there, any big lessons, things that you wish that you had learned much earlier on in the journey?
Yeah, so I think that finding a good team is really important, just because like I've done so many business ventures where like I would have people that are interested, but never put in the time or the effort or their skills to the actual idea. And I think that that's the biggest thing that I've learned. It's just finding the right people that would want to continue furthering the idea and not just a money grab,
Yeah.
Because the things that I do is mainly ideas that have never been done. So it's just, creating things that you don't see a replica of.
Yeah. And so having people that believe in that vision, but enough also that they'll actually drive that vision with you. Instead of just like, hey, I'm going to, take the back seat while you lead this thing. So what about as far as the 2020 board game goes, as far as that design side, any big lessons there?
Yeah, so
manufacturers, dealing with fulfillment, all that kind of stuff?
So with the 2020 board game, like, I think that the biggest lesson that I learned with this one is the fact that I did this because I actually loved doing it. I actually loved doing it so much that I literally made 104 cards in a week. That's wild. And what I realized is that when you love something, you really want to continue it, and people see that love translated in through the screen, and they loved it just as much as I do.
Oh man! So finding something you're passionate about, just sort of run with. Yeah. I love that. It's easy to talk about the big long-term goals of completing the decade, turning the game virtual and stuff. But what are the next immediate steps? Like, what's your big goal for this next week or the next month?
Yeah, so I actually want to return to crowdsourcing, just because like a lot of people were asking like, oh, would you return to Kickstarter?
Yeah.
And I think that because I was underprepared to actually meet Kickstarter community guidelines and like all these rules. I think that creating a campaign for myself, letting people know like is like what made you go into this, or like this interview, like want to see this. So it's just like, oh, okay, I definitely want to return to crowdsourcing in Indiegogo and Kickstarter.
Got you. Do you, how's this whole journey been as far as starting off? And like, were you scared when you first started this entire journey, or how's that? Because that's one thing I've always wondered is you're taking on a lot all at once. How are you managing that fear, or what are the emotions?
Yeah, so it's not a lot of fear. I think it's more about not meeting people's expectations. It's like, yes, I know this is a fun game. Yes, I've tested it. Yes, like everything's beautiful, aesthetically pleasing and everything like that. But once they play it, like I want them to have that feeling of like, this was worth it. And this is worth me playing for the rest of my life. So I think that's the biggest feeling that I'm feeling right now when creating the game.
And so when you do all these things, right, and you're going into these sort of unmarked territories with new ideas that you constantly come up with, do you find that like it gets easier and easier as you move forward, or like these things become more and more apparent to you?
I believe that it's more like I want more eyes on the game, and I want to be able to expand my audience a lot more, just because like this is a TikTok game and I see it as such, but I would like, you know, more Instagram eyes and more Snapchat eyes, you know. I would be able to expand.
You would almost like, it's like you'd like to continue building momentum,
you know. Exactly.
Bang. Okay. this is I'm trying. Okay, can you tell? Okay, the last like 5 minutes was just me trying to fit that in somewhere. God damn it, right? And that's like my goal through these interviews, just fit building momentum in there. So for people that want to show support, how can they do that?
Yeah, so if you want to show support, you can donate, or you can actually get a copy of the game at 2020boardgame.co.
Perfect. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was Irving Barcenas. Irving, you are absolutely awesome, man. This is such a cool idea. You managed to take something that was so traumatizing and unfortunately as shitty as 2020 was, and turn it into something that people can enjoy and bond over. And I think that's absolutely phenomenal. Wishing you the best of luck. I think it's super, super exciting to see where you take this. I'm wishing you the best of luck with what you're doing. This is gonna be so cool to watch. Hey, real quick, so before you go, Irving actually asked me a couple tips on like digital marketing and NFTs, blockchain, and what he can do with the game. And I actually gave him a bunch of really cool feedback that we ended up filming. And they're actionable pieces of advice, like how to create an NFT for 2020 board game, or how he can actually set up campaigns that can target people and help him, grow his email list for 2020. If you're interested in stuff like that, let me know in the comments and we might just drop those videos as well. As always, please make sure to subscribe. And if you're interested in the game, please check out the link in my bio and go make a purchase. Go show some support. I'll see you all at the next video.